If you're new in town or just new to this whole podcast thing, you're tuning in to Lore by Night, the podcast that discusses all things vampiric with no fear of breaching the Masquerade. In this episode, I shall rank the main 13 clans in Vampire the Masquerade in what I consider to be the best and worst across all editions. This list will not contain the Caitiff or Thinbloods. Welp, here we are, family, nearly 2 years into the Lore by Night podcast, and it is now that I put my hand in the easy content creator content toolbox and pull out a top 10 list. Only this is a top 13 list because White Wolf Publishing had to choose the lucky number. Witty laziness aside, I do get the occasional listener asking me about the clans. Some think I hate the Toreadors and the Bruja, for example. Many are surprised to learn that I actually like the Toreador clan. That is because said individuals forget that I'm in actual fact playing a super ancient Nosferatu who hates all the clans except the Nosferatu, because he really is a Toreador at heart, wink wink nudge nudge. Now, despite my greatest efforts, I am not a vampire. I am a cis white mortal man who is on occasion told he is good looking by his mother, so I happen to have my own thoughts and opinions about each of the main 13 clans. So, for once and for all, I would like to reveal to everyone what I deem to be the worst and best clans in everyone's favourite game in the World of Darkness universe. I wish to reiterate that all thoughts and opinions are my own, so if you disagree with something I've said, that is totally fine. It does not mean, however, that you are right and I am wrong and vice versa. Number 13. Clan Bruja. Often seen as the poster child for the Anarch sect, they are arguably the most boring for me to indulge my time and energy into. Yes, this is one of the few crossover points between myself, the human, and Malcolm Ashburn, my Nosferatu character I portray practically every week on the podcast. There isn't one clan I have greater disdain for than the Bruja. I personally find it very difficult for me to relate to their rebellious ethos and their stereotypical punk attitudes. Their persistence for pandemonium is incredibly juvenile in my honest opinion, which definitely says a lot about my favourite sect and my sheltered upbringing. They may have an OP spread of disciplines, but portrayals of them can get very stale very quickly, in my experience at least. I rate this clan hangry out of 10. Number 12. Clan Gangrel. I can smell the anger from you lot already, but that's fine by me because I give absolutely zero fucks. From here onwards, I like the clans. The Bruja, they are the only ones I don't like, so keep this in mind. That said, the Gangrel I feel don't have much going for them, which is such a weird thing to say about vampires that can turn into mist, wolves and bats. Like their Anarch Bruja counterparts, they are very one note, which has them moodily hunt and stalk prey, be it kind, kindred or beast, essentially making them Geralt of Rivia but with more fur. If there was more spiritualism involved and perhaps some more engaging lore, I would probably be more entertained with the notion of playing the Gangrel seriously and consistently. At that point, however, I might as well be playing Werewolf the Apocalypse. I rate this clan Beast Mode out of 10.
Number 11. Clan Ventru.
The Ventru have long been one of the proudest lines of vampires. Its members work hard to maintain a reputation for honour, genteel behaviour and leadership. Practically all the princes are Ventru and they rule the Camarilla with iron fists, which really hasn't changed much from edition to edition, which is why I think they are incredibly boring. Now, in the Dark Ages and the Sabbat, they are far more forward with their rulings, acting as paladins and knights or whatever the modern equivalent of those would be. Beyond that, they are very samey to me. I rate this clan money out of 10. Number 10. Clan Malkavian. I want you all to know that I spent a good 10 minutes trying to work out what to put here because I'm rather fond of the rest of the clans. At this point, it is more trying to work out what I like the least. The previous two clans are clans I could tolerate. Now we can get onto the more exciting stuff. To that end, I place the Children of Malkav here because they are a clan that across the game's history and the people who play them have either been done really well or really badly. What started off as mystical seers that walk the line between mage and changeling changeling has since developed into raving lunatics who are mad for the sake of it. The Malkavian anti-tribute would only add to this problem, making the Malkavian's madness far more volatile. There's also been those who immediately go to Malkavian if they wish to portray some disability, which is incredibly insensitive, especially when you consider the long history between disability and implied/inferred madness. Perhaps a biased take, but their handling is far more controversial and offensive than the Ravno's. Now, V5 seems to be undoing a lot of that poor writing, returning to them as oracles of old with all the answers and none of the questions, which is great to see. I rate this clan Fish out of 10. Number 9. The Banu Hakim, Clan Asamite. This could be very easy to change with the next clan, as one could argue that both require an extensive amount of research of their respective history and their associated faiths to do well. Of course, one can play a character however you wish, we all know this, and I merrily encourage that. On the surface, the vampire assassin idea may seem like a badass one, but it does not take long to realise that the Banu Hakim in editions of the game pre-V5 are a complicated clan to get your head around on a mechanical level. There are 3 separate variants for the main body of the clan, which are the Warriors, Sorcerer, and Vizier, each one with their own discipline spread, for the most part, and their own clan weakness. Caitiff, their unique form of blood sorcery, can be confusing to understand, especially in the Dark Ages setting when each Asamite caste has its own Caitiff variant. You can see how quickly they can become overwhelming for the newer player. I rate this clan Arabian Nights, Arabian Days out of 10. Number 8. The Ministry, Clan Setite. The followers of Set could easily take the Asamite's place, as one could argue that one has to be an Egyptologist or at the very least research the Setite lore and their weird and beautiful culture. In older pre-V5 editions of Vampire the Masquerade, it was often encouraged for players to follow one of the unique paths of enlightenment, which are far more difficult to uphold than the vanilla humanity system. I would also be prepared to argue that the Setite ones are a bit more challenging than the other ones as a whole. The reason why I put the Ministry above the Banu Hakim here is that the Egyptian cult is not truly embedded into their culture as much as the faiths explored with the Banu Hakim. There is not as much pressure to faithfully uphold a religion that players may not necessarily believe in themselves. The other part of the Setite teachings is that of corruption, manipulation, and deceit, which is much easier for players to sink their fangs into. I have always referred to them as sexy Toreadors for this reason. But Lore by Night, the Toreadors are already sexy, you ask? Yes, I know that. I rate this clan Walk Like an Egyptian out of 10. Number 7. Clan Zamitsy. I know many listeners will be very annoyed that this clan is not as high as the following ones, but we know why they are annoyed. I don't really like vicissitude that much. I shan't deny it is one of the most horrifying of all the disciplines, at least in a physical sense, but a lot of the writing I have seen surrounding the clan seems to focus on that more than their ties to an ancient demon buried within the earth, the spiritual command of cultonic sorcery, or their regal dedication to be outstanding guests. This is terrifying if you give it some thought. So, as fantastic as the clan should be, it is more other people that have made me feel tired with them, and the V5 companion misses the mark totally in my totally biased opinion. I rate this clan Edgelord out of 10. Number 6. Clan Toreador. As a highly creative person who loves the arts and music, I have always been able to easily associate myself with the Clan of the Rose. Heck, my favourite flower is indeed a rose. I grow them in my garden. What more can I say? Quite a bit, actually. They are an easy clan for anyone to roleplay and even easier to stereotype. I always have lots of fun portraying one of the divas, and whilst it is easy to say they are airheads who just like pretty fiends, which is why they are only 6th best clan, there are many ways to take their obsessive attraction to pretty fiends to whole new horrid levels. What exactly defines art? There is, of course, the Toreador anti-tribute to consider also, which is far more unpleasant. I rate this clan... Really? Those shoes? With that dress? Out of 10. Number 5. Clan Ravnos. Hold it, back up, put down the keyboard, stop typing, stop. I know a lot of you are annoyed, that the Ravno is high as this, the clan known only to be banded together with the remaining folk in a variety of offensive data stereotypes is number 5? Has Lord by Night lost his fucking marbles? No, I just chose to read the material and not play the same record over and over again. Ignoring V5's minimal updates, the Ravno have an interesting lore and spiritual philosophy, as they rule much of India and wander the world seeking enlightenment, unravelling the meaning of the universe. On more than one occasion, the Ravno have served as unsung heroes in the world of darkness, not just in its canon, but events that took place in the real world. But I'll leave you to discover those at your own leisure as you listen to my podcast episode about them. Many also don't think their unique discipline, chemistry, is particularly useful until you enter the OP Elder Discipline powers, which players really shouldn't have anyway, for the most part at least. Such mindsets, I feel, lack imagination, for that is something that defines the Ravno, in my opinion. I rate this clan various Methuselah names I tried to pronounce once and got horrifically wrong, out of 10. Number 4. Clan Giovanni. Arguably one of the darkest clans in VTM lore, there is very little one can say about the clan that makes them redeeming on any sort of level. They are selfish, diablerizing, incestuous necromancers with a family political structure that is far more complicated and interesting to unpack than any other clan, and far more difficult to pull off effectively. There is very little else I can add to that without repeating myself or rehashing more of my podcast episode about them. The Giovanni and their many revenant families are a clan I just love to hate. I rate this clan Mama's Special Pasta Sauce out of 10. Number 3. Clan La Sombra. Ever since learning of their strange power of shadow and darkness manipulation on LA by Night, and their curious weakness linking to vampire legends of old, I have always been fascinated by them. Deep diving into their lore has made me fear and respect their experimentation to claim control of everything they touch. Of course, there is also their frightening control over the Abyss, a power almost exclusive to them. Because of this otherworldly power, they are often difficult to roleplay when you remember the humanity-led themes of V5. In a Sabbat setting, there is more freedom for them to be terrible monsters. If you enjoy playing Ventrue but want a bit more challenge and mysticism in your character, play the La Sombra. If you wish to assert dominance not just for power, but to absolutely destroy the minds of others, play the La Sombra. If you prefer praying to God than counting your dollar bills, play the La Sombra. They are, in my opinion, everything the Ventrue stands for, but far more villainous and entertaining. I rate this clan, if your favourite clan is La Sombra, you're into bondage and / or hentai, out of 10.
Number 2. Clan Tremere.
More often than not, I hear the Tremere being described and treated as vampire nerdy wizards. Mechanically speaking, yes, that is exactly what they boil down to. But it's when you begin to dig deep beneath the surface, you will find how undeniably evil they are. Whilst both the Warlocks and Giovanni have always been self-centered diabolical young clans, I feel the Tremere go that one step further, as their developments and bolstering of numbers have come from horrific torture of various clans, wicked abominable creatures, and determined selfishness as they inserted themselves into the most powerful faction in Vampire the Masquerade, becoming one of its staples, whilst being independent enough to get away with it. Magic aside, they are definitely one of the more powerful clans in terms of political control. I rate this clan Goratrix has 2 penises, out of 10. Number 1. Clan Nosferatu. This shouldn't have surprised any long-term listeners. I have said time and time again they are my favourite clan, and the most fuckable out of the main 13. But why do I think those things? Well, I don't need to explain the last part. Nosferatu are very sexy. My personal reasons for liking them so much is because I personally resonate with a lot of their stereotypes. A butt-ugly know-it-all who people only come to for information before quickly running off. As a result, I'm a keeper of many a secret, and I'm not totally happy with that. I also have a soft spot for goblins and goblin-like looking creatures. Beyond my small kinks, I am prepared to argue that they are actually one of the best clans for new players to choose when making their first character. But Nosferatus are walking masquerade breaches, I hear you type. Yes, Exactly. Some new NOS players would naturally have a better appreciation of upholding the Masquerade with careful use of disciplines. They are also the first to learn that disciplines have limits, as obfuscate is not total invisibility, animalism is not as straightforward as it appears to be, and potence is remarkably broken in all editions of Vampire the Masquerade, so you can only be destined for greatness when playing a Nosferatu. I rate this clan 13 out of 10. And there you have it, the 13 main clans in Vampire the Masquerade ranked from worst to best according to me, the Lore by Night podcast guy, who's the only opinion that matters on this episode. Yes, I intend on doing a similar list for the many bloodlines that make up the V5's Clan Hakata, and all the weird wacky ones that you probably hear once or twice in a forum somewhere, or this podcast, which is a far more reliable place for such information. No, I did not really plan a proper ending to this, so cue the outro. To be kept updated, follow the Lore by Night VTM Twitter and Instagram pages to find out when we will upload each episode. You can also find out by subscribing to the YouTube channel and clicking on the little bell, as you'll be immediately notified when the latest episode is live. Until next time, farewell.